Welcome back, people. Welcome back to Kosi's Arsenal podcast. My name is Kosi. I almost said that wrong. I'm so sorry. Today, of course, I did do an upload about Kamavinga. I hope you enjoyed the video. Basically, I was trying to show you the skills and how good that guy is, how good Kamavinga is. So make sure you check the channel. I've tried to put together a compilation of his skills. You'll be able to see why Arsenal need Kamavinga. Why I think is a little bit better than the likes of Bissouma, the likes of House Semawa. Why I think is one of those good candidates that Arsenal should be looking at in that area. So we've been linked with Kamavinga, and I've done a video about it, skills and reaction and about so many things. But in this video, we're gonna discuss much about Max Aarons and the right back situation at Arsenal. So that's what we are going to be actually talking about. Max Aarons to Arsenal and the right back situation at the club. We shall also be talking about a couple of other things, including the new contract of Emile Smith Rowe. There is news around Sender Badge as well. Fabrizio Romano said something about Arsenal retaining Mikel Arteta. We're going to talk about that. Basically, it's transfers, and you know, with me, when it comes to transfers, the most reliable source on YouTube you're gonna ever find is Kosi. So make sure you've hit that like button. Make sure you've subscribed to the channel. Make sure you're telling me your comments about Max Aarons. Obviously, one of the things I'm gonna do in this video is try to show you that the Lamptey deal is a little bit far away from what we expect. The Ashraf Hakimi deal is also a little bit far away from what we expect. It looks like Arsenal will be going in for Max Aarons as our first right back target, or as our first choice. So make sure you've hit the like button and make sure you've subscribed, because the first 50,000 subscribers will be the people that I make content for since we hit the 50,000 mark until the end of me, because the channel will never end. That is for sure. So let us get the party started. Start off with Max Aarons, because he is in the title. Now, Fabrizio Romano has been monitoring closely, and when I say closely, I really do mean closely. He has been monitoring the right back situation at Arsenal since Hector Bellerin. He told us that Bellerin will leave the club. He told us that the likes of Hakimi, the likes of Lamptey, the likes of Max Aarons are potential targets. And he said for Arsenal, on that right back list, on the right back target list, it is very, very long. So you have players like Emerson, you have players like Lamptey, you have players like Hakimi, you have players like Max Aarons, you have players like Matt Cash, and a couple of others. But now he's come out and said that Arsenal have made an offer to Norwich to sign their young star, in the name of Max Aarons. Of course, we know the right back situation at Arsenal. Hector Bellerin, there is a lot of confidence, again, from Fabrizio Romano, that the man in himself, Hector Bellerin, will be leaving the club at the end of the season. So we expect Bellerin to move on. And the player that could actually replace him, as per, if rumors are to be believed, and if Fabrizio Romano is to be believed, because he must be believed, is Max Aarons. Now, these are some of the tweets he has put out, and some of the statements he has made around the right back situation in a few days ago on his Here We Go podcast. First and foremost, he said Lamptey is no longer a target and Hakimi is really, really difficult. Max Aarons is one of the names on the list, but it is a long list. Everton were in talks for Aarons, but now it is really complicated. Other clubs are joining the rest. That is Fabrizio Romano speaking on his on the Here We Go podcast. If you want to know more about the Here We Go podcast, go on to Twitter, look for Fabrizio Romano. Or actually go on Twitter, look for my Twitter handle. It is Arsenal Podcast Kosi. Click on it. I've retweeted a couple of tweets about Fabrizio Romano, and you'll find that Here We Go podcast. Click on it. It will take you to, I think it is Patreon. you'll have to pay around, I think, $1 or two. Then you'll be able to access the content, because we are going into transfers and you really need to be kept updated. I'll be keeping you updated on my Twitter, so make sure you follow my Twitter handle always. So that's the first thing. He said Tariq Lamptey is no longer a target for Arsenal. Hakimi is a target, but really, really difficult. And it looks like Arsenal are looking at Max Aarons as their more realistic target. Again, from Fabrizio Romano, he said that on Arsenal, they are planning the future with Mikel Arteta. They are planning the transfer market with Arteta, so they are still backing the manager, working with him closely to decide about the next targets. And of course, it has come out that Max Aarons is a target and player admired a lot by Mikel Arteta. So that's what we know so far. Arsenal have made an offer, a firm offer for Max Aarons. However, there is no detail whether the offer is is around 50 or 40 million. But what I can confirm is the valuation of the player stands at around 30 million pounds. That is the asking price. That is what Norwich would want if you're going to take Max Aarons away from the club. And I've said it before that the first thing we need to do in this transfer summer, before we think about anything else, is can we get an upgrade in terms of a right back? Because for me, an upgrade will be very, very crucial. Very crucial in terms of right back. Hector Bellerin leaving the club, that is massive. That is absolutely massive as well. But I also think players like Cedric should leave the club as well. I also think players like Chambers eventually should leave the club. Aarons has every quality and capacity, in my opinion, to fit in for any player at Arsenal. I think it's better than any right back we have at the moment. So for me, the fact that Arsenal will go for Max Aarons, Arsenal has offered for Max Aarons, does not surprise me. The only question I have with that is, how confident are we that we are going to sign Max Aarons? Of course, after Mikel Arteta coming out and saying that all the transfer targets still want to join Arsenal, however much we might not qualify anywhere in Europe. Well, that puts us in a very, very awkward situation, especially in deals like this, the Max Aarons deal, because you've seen last summer, Bayern were interested, and we really can't tell what happened between, what happened with that deal. Nobody can tell why we didn't sign Max, why Bayern didn't sign Max Aarons. Nobody can tell, but he was available. The club had just been relegated. It looks like Norwich wanted to keep their best players as they went down to get a better chance of coming back. And they have done it. They have come back up top. I think they have been amazing. They have been just very, very brilliant. So Arsenal making an offer at this point in time, it's not going to be an easy deal. That's the first thing I know. Aarons is playing with Norwich. Norwich has been promoted back to the Premier League. They would want to at least have their players for another season. So I think it wouldn't do them any harm if they kept the likes of Buendia, if they kept the likes of the likes of Max Aarons, because those are their best players. They would want to keep them at this point in time. But again, if you think about the financial situations at the club and other things that the club is going through, probably they will need to sell. But it's not going to be an easy. It's not going to be an easy. It's not going to be an easy deal for Arsenal to do. But I'm going to look at some of the statistics of Max Aarons at FBref and try to see how good this guy is, and probably why do we need to sign Aarons over the other players like Tariq Lamptey, over Hakimi. Of course, for Hakimi, I've said it before, it's the money. There is no Arsenal is going to pay 43 million pounds for a right back. That is one of the reasons. But the other reason that I strongly believe is true, I don't see Hakimi move from a club that has Champions League at the moment to move to a club that doesn't even have basic Europa League. So I don't see that happen as well. So in the end, I think the only player, the realistic target that Arsenal has to stick with is Max Aarons. He's coming from the Championship to play in the Premier League. He's not going to play anywhere in Europe. So literally moving from Norwich to Arsenal is only an upgrade in terms of your career. I mean, in terms of the club you're playing for, you're not going to play, in Champions League or in Europe, next season. But at least there is a guarantee that if you play with Arsenal one season without Europa League, next season at least we can qualify for Europa League. Because I think whether we sack the manager or we don't sack the manager, the fact that we have been dropped out of any European competition this season, that is enough to make us go back to Europe. That is enough. The moment Mikel Arteta fails to take us back to Europe next season, actually in the first 10 games, if we don't see any kind of improvement, if we don't see a massive improvement in this club, there won't be any excuses. Then he'll have to leave. That is final. He'll have to leave. But anyway, Max Aarons, Arsenal, according to Fabrizio, Arsenal have made an offer to sign him on a permanent deal. It seems the offer is in the region of 20 to 30 million pounds. I'll be keeping you posted with whatever happens in that deal. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel as well. It really, really does mean a lot. Now, among the other transfer news Arsenal is been linked with, we have also been linked with a man in the names of Sunderberg. And according to according to Just Arsenal, they're saying Arsenal has been linked with the move for Sunderberg this summer after Sheffield United got relegated from the Premier League. The Norwegian is one of Sheffield's most expensive players, as well as arguably their most valuable. Their relegation from the Premier League will make more teams to pay attention to their best players. The Blades know this will be determined to raise as much money as they can for their sale. Different reports have quoted figures that would convince them to sell Sunderberg, with the latest being 10 million for a player they signed for 22 million pounds. Examine Live debunks such reports and says the midfielder has a release clause of 35 million pounds, and that is the fee that Sheffield United would want if any of his suitors are really serious. So again, we've been linked with another player in Sunderberg. Another bargain. That's the truth. Another bargain. I don't know whether it's a no-brainer, but I think it would be a very, very beautiful bargain if Arsenal went in for it. We want a player who plays next to Partey. We want in a central midfielder, but also I think apart from that, we will need to sign in players that can actually sit on that bench. There is no way you're going to have Bissouma and Partey all season. I mean, you need to have someone who backs up. You need to have a backup, and because we do not have a lot of money, you can get one player that can back up for Partey, and then the same player can actually back up for either Bissouma or whoever plays in that in that pivot with Thomas Partey. And Sunderberg could be a good player. Of course, the fact that Arsenal do not have Champions League is not an issue because he's relegated, and I think it would be a bargain. I think this is a deal you could do for around 11, 12 million pounds. Sunderberg is a young player, around 23, 24 years of age. You bring him at the club. Just give him the opportunity, give him the fighting, give him that that competition, give him that fighting area, that fighting chance to fight for his place, and I think he's gonna be a very, very good player. I'm looking at Sunderberg as a squad player. I'm not a starter at Arsenal because literally I would go for Kamavinga or Bissouma to start with Thomas Partey, but I'm looking at Sunderberg as that kind of player, as a player that provides competition to whoever plays in that midfield pivot, because he's a good player. We've seen him at Sheffield United. He's arguably their most valuable. He's arguably their most expensive player, and that doesn't come cheap. I think he's earned it. He's one of those players that have really done so well in terms of having their names written all over the Premier League. I think he's been a very good player. Liverpool have come out with interest. Arsenal have come out with interest, and the likes of Manchester United have also come out with a lot of interest. So you can see he's a highly marketable figure. He's a highly marketable player. And if Arsenal go for centre back, I won't be disappointed. I think it would be the right deal to do. That's it. It would be the right deal. It would be a very interesting deal to see how Arsenal move from the likes of Granit Xhaka to the likes of Sender, because I think his work rate is okay. Almost everything about him is very fine. All you need to do, pay those 11 million pounds, and then we can move on. Okay, still moving on with with updates around Arsenal. Arsenal are working since March to extend Emile Smith Rowe's contract. There is optimism to complete the agreement very, very soon. The player is happy and open to stay at Arsenal. 5 years contract on the table. That is again according to Fabrizio Romano. Again, the man Fabrizio still being quoted widely in this one. Let me just retweet this so that you can find it on my Twitter handle. If you want to get my Twitter handle, it is Arsenal Podcast Scorsy. You can type in Arsenal Podcast. They'll bring you my Twitter handle, and make sure you follow. So Romano says it's gonna be a 5-year deal to Emile Smith Rowe. It's been Arsenal have been working on this ever since March. Happily enough, we have a new director of football who's going to be working on such kinds of contracts and deals. Hopefully, we shall be able to rectify the contract situation in Arsenal, because the problem I have with the way we've been doing our transfers and our contract issues at Arsenal is we've been acting like a very, very small club. I've not seen Arsenal do contracts of players in a professional way. Basically, what we've been doing is get these players, wait until their contracts are over, and then start begging them. But the likes of Emile Smith Rowe, if his contract has 2 years to go, give him a new contract. If you feel like you need to commit him to the project that's going on at the club, give him a new give him a new contract. The likes of Kieran, Tierney, I think those are players that need to get their contracts sorted. At the moment, the likes of Banleno, this is the time when we should decide: is Banleno going to stay at the club? If it's going to stay, you've got to give him the contract. If he's not going to stay at the club, well and good. You let him go and then finding another replacement. So I think the contract situations that around Arsenal, including Smith Rowe, including Saka, including of course Saka signed, including Kieran Tierney and Banleno, those are contract situations that we have to look at very, very closely this summer, because the next summer Leno will have 1 year left on his contract. The likes of Kieran Tierney will have 2 years left on his contract. And then that will put us in a very awkward, negotiating process. So I think we've got to accept this. Arsenal needs to get in the right contracts to the right players. And I think I have no issues with Emile Smith Rowe being handed a 5-year contract. He's 20 years of age. By the time his contract runs down, he'll be around 25, 26. That's then you can decide whether to sell him, or you can decide whether to keep him. And I think he's going to be he has already shown us that he can be a very important figure in Arsenal's team. Ever since he came, he joined the senior team from December last year, he's been improving as a player. So giving him a new contract, it is coming at the right time. I don't think anyone is going to be disappointed that Arsenal have given Emile Smith Rowe a 5-year contract. I think he deserves it. He's one of those players that really deserve a new contract. And Mikel talked about it, that if a player works hard, you've got to reward him. And I think Emile Smith Rowe deserves to be rewarded. I've seen reports from Quack. I don't want to call them Quack, but from Quack sites that Emile Smith Rowe is going to reject that contract. I don't think he will reject it. There is no reason for Emile Smith Rowe to reject the contract. According to Fabrizio, the player is happy and open to staying at the club. I think they're gonna give him that chance. Yeah, they're gonna give him that chance. There is no way Emile Smith Rowe is gonna be in doubt that Arsenal is not going to give him a chance. We've given him the chance. He's proven he's a good player, and he has become very, very key to Mikel Arteta's setup. You see, most of the times, if he doesn't play as a number 10, he at least introduces him as a left midfielder. So that is how important Smith Rowe has become to Arsenal. This season, he has scored his 2 Premier League goals in his career. I think he needs to add more goals. He needs to add a lot of things to his game as a young player. There are many things we expect out of him, but I think he's doing brilliantly well. And it's just the right time for Arsenal to give him such a contract. So I cannot disagree. I cannot agree and better. Smith Rowe deserves that contract 100%. 100%. So, guys, the discussion now is more on Max Aarons and this right back situation at Arsenal. So that's what we're gonna that's what the rest of the video is gonna be focusing on. We've talked about centre back. We've talked about the likes of Emile Smith Rowe. And in the next videos, we shall talk about the likes of Moussa Dembele coming to Arsenal. Those stories have been there, and we shall see. And of course, Mikel Arteta saying that the club will sign more players, despite the fact that we're not in Europe. And there are reports that almost 5 players will join Arsenal this summer. That is according to reliable sources. Almost 5 players are being looked at to come at the club, and more than 7 players will be leaving the club on a permanent basis and on loan. So it looks like it's gonna be a very unprecedented summer for Arsenal on paper, because literally, Arsenal always on paper, we always have those enticing deals. We always have those optimistic deals happen, but in the end, we never sign players. So reliable sources are saying that Arsenal wants to bring in 5 players in this summer, and more than 7 players will be able to leave the squad. I should be able to do an Arsenal keep or sell, or players to leave Arsenal. And I'm gonna do that, and players that actually should come in and players that should stay. We shall be ranking our targets as well. So make sure you subscribe to this channel, because there is a lot of content to come, and that's one of the reasons you've got to subscribe. So now, what we've learned in this video probably is Arsenal will not maintain their interest in Tariq Lamptey, and it's a little bit disheartening. When I think about that, we shall not go for Tariq Lamptey. It's a little bit disheartening. I love the player as a person. I really do love Tariq Lamptey, and there's some positives he has. He's been playing in the Premier League. Aarons has been in the Championship. Of course, Aarons has played in the Premier League before. Don't get me wrong, but Lamptey would be the cheapest deal to do of all the 3 players: Lamptey, Aarons, and Hakimi. He would be the cheapest deal to do. And then at the moment, I think Arsenal need to capitalize on fans. I think you need to go for the cheapest deals available, because you do not have a lot of money at your disposal. That's what I would expect. But again, if we think about it, if we talk about it honestly and realistically, you need quality. You need an upgrade. I don't think from Bellerin to Cedric, there is a huge upgrade if you go for Tariq Lamptey. He was played 1 season at Brighton. I think he needs another season, to make us understand his kind of football, and make us believe that he's an extraordinary right back. I mean, if we don't sign him this summer, and next summer he signs for Liverpool or Manchester City or Manchester United, it will be our loss. But I think it would have been the better deal to do in terms of money. For Hakimi, I've told you right from the beginning, I love Achraf Hakimi. I think if there is a right back that is entertaining and exciting to watch these days, it is Hakimi. He is one of the fastest players in football right now. And, whenever you have a fast right back, you're always going to break through your enemy's lines all the time. All the time. Very good player, especially in terms of going forward. But first and foremost, I don't like his defensive liabilities as a person. I think the Premier League is a league where you need to be 100% focused. You need to balance your game, and that's why there's a lot of hits on players like Aaron Van Bissaka, because Bissaka is a very good right back defensive wise, but going forward, it looks like he's not offering what Luke Shaw offers on the other side. So you need to balance your game, and that's my problem with Ashraf Hakimi. Defensive wise, I don't think he's balanced as he's balanced going forward. But still, I would take him at Arsenal if we had the chance. But 43 million pounds is very very difficult. And Inter Milan and the agent have also come out and said it would be an interesting situation to see Arsenal come in for Hakimi. However, there has not been any contact. There has not been any formal contact or interest from Arsenal to sign Ashraf Hakimi. And for me, that is only understandable. The reason as to why we have not moved to sign Hakimi is, first and foremost, there is no way we're going to pay that ridiculous release clause. The prices are OTT, are over the top, and also you got to gauge what you can eat. What Arsenal can eat at the moment is we can only sign players who are willing to play a whole season out of Europe. I don't think Hakimi coming from Dortmund to Inter, going to Arsenal now, it would be something like a downgrade. I don't see that. So it leaves us with two players who are Emerson, at Real Betis, at least another interesting right back to watch, and Max Aarons, and probably Matty Cash. Let me just talk about Matty Cash in a minute. I think one of those players that have really had an interesting season at Aston Villa. We've talked about Grealish, we've talked about Ole Watkins, we've talked about the likes of Joe McGinn whole season. Another player that we need to talk about is Matty Cash. Matty Cash has had a very interesting season, a very, very interesting season at Aston Villa. And is one of those players that I would really take at Arsenal. Matty Cash, another brilliant right back. Another brilliant right back. Going forward, so brilliant. Defensive wise, his tackles just on time and so brilliant. And I think if we raid Aston Villa for Matty Cash, we could actually be able to get him at around 20 or 25 million pounds. The only problem is that he's English, and the moment you're English, you're gonna have to pay a lot of money, for an English player. That's why the likes of Bissaka, you can see the price tags on them, the likes of Kyle Walker. But Matty Cash would be another interesting player to look at by Arsenal. Very interesting, very, very interesting player. If you've seen Aston Villa, Matty Cash is a real one. But so we have three options now: Emerson, Matty Cash, and Max Aarons. We have made an offer for Aarons at the moment. So it looks like Arsenal are prioritizing Max Aarons. Emerson is another backup player that we can think about. I've looked at him. I don't know whether I've done. I don't know whether I've not done a reaction video of his skills on the channel, but I promise I'll do a reaction video of Emerson Royal. The guy is called Emerson Royal, and he's playing with Real Betis, and he's a very good player. Very, very, very good player that I've seen. But again, he's a Brazilian that lacks that defensive assurance. So, like I said, in the Premier League, and with the kind of defenders we have, the likes of Robolding, I think we need a right back who has both offensive and defensive responsibility. And that's why I think we can stick to two targets now, who are Max Aarons and Matty Cash. If Arsenal can get any of the two, either Matty Cash or Max Aarons, it would be something very, very interesting. It would be interesting. But I'm happy, first and foremost, that Arsenal is willing to deal with the right back situation. It's something that has been disturbing us all season. All the season, we've been disturbed by this thing called the right back situation. Disturbed, awesomely disturbed by the right back situation at the club. Let me see what you people are saying in the chat. As agent says, Lamptey or Emerson for me. What about Buendia? I'm gonna talk about Buendia in a minute. And Jack Grealish. Hi Kosi from UG. Hi Kosi, how are you? how is our academy on the issue of right back. Okay, so let me try to answer some of your questions. I'm going to talk about Grealish and Buendia just in a minute, but not in what you want to hear, but in what is available, because that is basically why I want to do these shows, basically to give you an update of what is actually happening at the moment. Now, there have been reports that Arsenal will not retain Martin Odegaard, and that is something that we've discussed in detail. I don't think we'll have an honest discussion of Martin Odegaard than the one we have had. I think it was 2 weeks ago, and we have talked about it. We have talked about it. Now, there are reports, and this is a little bit ridiculous, but it could happen because these such deals happen. There are reports that Aston Villa want to go for Emile Buendia for £30 million, £35 million, because Arsenal has been linked to Jack Grealish. You're going to discuss that in detail for almost 10 minutes. So the report claims that the report from the Birmingham Mail reports that Aston Villa are interested in £35 million Emile Buendia to take him at the side, because Arsenal want Jack Grealish. That's it. Now, the situation with Arsenal around Emiliano Buendia, and I would like to make this very, very clear. The situation between us and Emile Buendia is that Arsenal last contacted the player, and this is official information that came out of his of sources close to him. We last contacted the player and his camp in December. That's it. That is when Arsenal last contacted Emiliano Buendia and his representatives for a major move. So we last contacted the player. We last talked about bringing in the player at the side, last in December. That was the last time Arsenal thought and talked to Emile Buendia and his close representatives. Right through January and until now, reports have it that we have not talked closely. We have not formally approached them to show our interest. However, again, there are reports that Arsenal still maintain interest in Emiliano Buendia. He is our first choice target if we don't retain Martin Odegaard. And I'm telling you this because I believe the Martin Odegaard deal is a little bit difficult. It's a very, very difficult deal for Arsenal to decide. So I think we might see Odegaard leave and then Arsenal get back to link with Emiliano Buendia throughout the summer. I don't see Arsenal go for Grealish. That's not going to happen. Especially if you are talking about 3 to 5 players joining the club, I don't see us going for the likes of Jack Grealish. I don't see that happen. So I think the situation around these two, Grealish and Buendia, I think Grealish will leave Aston Villa at the end of the season. I think he will leave. He might go for City or Manchester United. I think those are the two clubs that will be battling to get his signature. And what Aston Villa are doing right now, they're getting in a possible replacement. They're trying to get a possible replacement of the player, because if they get Emile Buendia for £35 million, that only makes sense, does it? It only makes sense getting Buendia for £35 million, and then you can sell Grealish for £70 million. You're making a ridiculous profit of £35 million from a player who came from your academy. So I think it would be very, very good business. Very good business. So I don't think Aston Villa wanting Emile Buendia is directly linked to Arsenal wanting Grealish. No, it's not directly linked. We've been linked with these ridiculous sports stories, and at times I don't want to react to them. The likes of Jack Grealish, those ones I don't want to react to them anymore because they're just ridiculous. There is no way Arsenal. We all know there is no way Arsenal is going to pay that money. Well, at least we know that. There is no way you're going to pay that money for Grealish. If we cannot sign a player who is £40 million in-house Samoa 50 million pounds last summer. There's no way you're gonna tell me that Arsenal has gotten stronger within the COVID period, and now we're gonna sign a player who is even 2 times as expensive. So the Jack Grealish deal, that one, clear it out of your head. It's a deal that's never gonna happen. Arsenal do not have that money. The fact that he's English, he renewed his contract in the summer last summer. It only shows you that it is not an Arsenal deal. Those are not the Arsenal deals, and I think we need to get used to the deals we are going to do. We need to surround ourselves with information around the deals we can do. The likes of Sunderbadge, the likes of Buendia, I think the Kamavinga deals, those ones are doable. But Grealish, no. For Buendia, he's a real player. He's a very good player. I'll take him all day long. But as per now, there is no information that Arsenal will sign him at the moment. Hi, Kosi. How are you doing, Moki? Kosi Buendia is better than Grealish because his skills and scoring and assisting. I don't think he's better than Jack Grealish. I think Grealish is the better player. Yeah, Grealish is the better player. About right back, I think Aarons is better. Yeah, I think all of us need to agree. Aarons is the better right back at Arsenal should get. Yeah, he's the better right back, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Thanks everybody for tuning in. I'll speak to you at exactly 9 p.m.